Today we're talking about transformational story of one of the RCICs that I had pleasure working with and we're still working with, who went from $3,000 of revenue per month to $12,000 revenue per month just in 8 months. She had just a couple consultations per month. Now she has 15 consultations per month, and she's completely thriving. And quite frankly, now the problem is how busy she is. So we're looking into ways how to expand her capacity higher and go and grow from there. Welcome to Talk with Olena podcast, and I'm so happy you're here. And I decided to bring this case study episode to you. And this episode here is not really to impress you or to maybe even make you feel a little bit not good about yourself, because maybe you're not at that level of revenue or maybe you're not seeing those results. This episode is actually creating, honestly, just to tell you that you can absolutely achieve this the same way that the RCIC that I'm going to talk about today has achieved it in past 8 months. Everything that was available to her and is still available to her is available to you in terms of the tools and strategies that she was using. And I want to break down exactly how she pivoted in the last 8 months. And I want really for you to take this episode as this is 100% possible to achieve with you in 2026. And I don't want you to doubt a second yourself and that you can see these results for yourself in the next 8-9 months in 2026. All right, so let's break it down. So first, let's talk about what happened to this RCIC, where she was when we started working together when we met. So I met her, I think she was taking my consultation boot camp, which is my 3-part, boot camp kind of training. And she purchased that, I believe, in April. And she revamped her consultation page and she was feeling really good. And then that's kind of how we met. So in May, she signed up for my mentorship business container program, and we had a kickoff call with her. So during that kickoff call, usually I ask all the mentees, all the RCICs that I work with, to fill out the intake form. And when I was preparing for this episode, because I really wanted to share this case study with you, I actually reviewed her intake form that she filled out in May 2020. And in that intake form, I have some notes here. So if you see me looking down, if you're watching this on YouTube, I'm just referring to my notes. Okay, so in that intake form, what she was saying is that she said, someone else out there knows better and is smarter than me. So why would someone come to me? Why would someone pay me? And now, several months after she wrote this, I'm reading this and I'm like, I cannot believe that the same person actually wrote this, because the transformation, not just in her business, but in her core, in her mindset, in her belief in herself, is absolutely remarkable. But I want you to think about this phrase and what she said. Like, have you ever thought about that? Like, there's so many RCICs out there. Why would people come to you? And I'll be honest with you, I thought about that myself, about my own business. So there's no shame in that. There's absolutely no shame in that. But that's the belief, kind of trust in yourself challenge. And sometimes it shows up and it hurts our business, right? So from kind of practical point of view, where she was basically 8 months ago, she was at $3,000 of monthly revenue. So some months it was $2,000, some months it was $3,000, and she was telling me that for several years she couldn't break out of that number. Her consultation fee was $100 per consultation. She used to charge $1,500 for PR express entry representation, and she was stuck in direct messages, in phone calls, in WhatsApp messages, basically responding to those referrals and those inquiries, and in hopes and providing them with essentially free advice, which is fine. But she was just, stuck in the loop when she's trying to convince people by responding to messages, by responding to phone calls, to kind of like go ahead with her services. But what was happening, she basically was stuck, in that communication on a daily basis, and her bank account was not really reflecting that, right? The time spent in that communication with clients, and not everyone was hiring her, and not everyone was compensating her for all of that communication, right? So that's kind of a snapshot of where she was. Now, today, so the snapshot where she is today. So she is today at 12 months, $12,000 per month revenue. She actually, in February, she actually did $14,000 per month, but I kind of staying conservative and averaging out $1,000 per month revenue. Consultation fees, she doubled it. So from 100, she went to 200. For express entry application right now, she just charged $5,000 for one express entry application. Other express entry applications, she's charging anywhere between $3,500, $4,500 up to $5,000. And then she gets 4 to 5 email inquiries every single day. And then she gets about 15 consultations booked every month, paid consultations, obviously. And she went, from the belief of why would someone work with me? Why would someone hire me? To the problem that we're not now looking into the possibility of hiring support for her, because she now needs that support in order to continue scaling her business. So this is a snapshot of what was achieved in 8 months. And I really want to take you through kind of points how she did it in a very practical way. And again, I really, really want you to understand that I'm recording this honestly because this specific RCIC and this specific person, she really stopped playing small in her business and in her life. And it was the biggest mindset shift, in my opinion, that she gained that inner trust, confidence in herself. And don't get me wrong, she still gets, a lot of challenges within her, like the way that her business is running and how she's operating. But the pivot was remarkable. And I'm recording this episode so you understand that it is absolutely possible for you to finally stop playing small. And every time you're finding yourself in a non-strategic free advice, and don't get me wrong, free advice and free consultations absolutely has place and time in our business when it's done strategically. But when you're just feeling, like it's sucking you in, that is maybe one of the indications that you might be playing small. When you're fearing the pricing, when you're charging the price that clients will accept versus the price that you should be charging, that may be a sign that you're playing small. And I'm recording this for you to kind of honestly just get confidence in yourself that you can do it. Absolutely do it. And this RCIC that this case study is about did not always have the confidence, but I had to lend her my confidence because I believed in her and that she will do it. And in the times when she was spiraling, she was low, she couldn't sleep until 2 a.m. because like literally she was spiraling. She would message me in the morning and I would tell her that like, look, you got to lock in, and I know it's coming for you. I know you can do it. I know the results are one step away from you. And if you're not confident in yourself, then borrow my confidence because I have all the confidence in the world that you can do it. And this is the vibe of this episode that I really want you to kind of get from this, right? All right. So let's talk about what actually has changed and what we did in a span of 8 months and what led to all of these results. Well, number one change, and I already talked about the fact that she honestly just locked in. And that was not a perfect journey because she started in May or June. And I think it was like end of May that she started. And then she locked in and everything was great. And she was doing all the things, marketing and all the things, that we were planning for her to do to bring more consultations, to issue better quotes. We were doing everything. And then around August, she just dropped off. And she just kind of like disappeared a little bit and completely dropped off. And she had this high season when in July things started working out. Like, so after several months, like 2 3 months of like working together, she's like, okay, like things are rolling, things are working, like everything is great. And then she kind of like hit this like low season when it's just motivation was low. She dropped off, and it was not a pretty time. Like, it was hard. And then the biggest thing was about like how she was able to get out of the bottom. So by October, September, she totally was like, you know what? I can see that, the fact that I dropped out of my marketing, dropped out of our plan, I can see the repercussions for that. And I can see that, like, she got a proof of concept. Like, during the first couple of months working together, she was like, okay, like, it's working. And then she stopped doing all the things right, and then stopped working. So she was like, oh, wait a second. So when I don't do things, things don't work. When I do things work. And then she got this like total clarity moment and total motivation moment. And she just went on vacation. And after vacation, she came back as a like absolutely new human being altogether, because she was like, I'm ready. I'm ready to lock in. And that was November 2025. The moral of the story here is that it's not a perfect journey. You will drop out of your plan. You will not complete everything on your to-do list. You will not have like this super perfect linear journey. You will have low moments. You like, how many times we would get on a Zoom call and like she would cry. And that is heartbreaking. And that is so, so hard. But the point here is that how you actually get yourself out of it, and that you do get yourself out of it. And so that's what I mean when I'm saying she locked in. It doesn't mean that she just locked in May and then she had this perfect journey just going up, up, up. Doesn't work like that. She locked in. It was ups and there were downs, and there were ups and there were downs. And through all of it, she kept pushing, even during her downs. Even during crying, hard seasons, she kept pushing. And that is how you stop playing small. So she was really, really showing up so differently for her business herself. And honestly, like the woman around like our mentorship program, Business Container, like people start noticing it and people start getting inspired by her, and that feeds the loop of showing up more and more, right? So from practical stuff though, what we did is that we basically worked on her mindset around pricing, and in a very practical way through just hard times. We kept quoting people the way that they should be quoted, not 1500 for express entry, but 35 at least hundred for express entry. And believe me, she was telling me all the things. She was telling me, in my community, people don't charge this much. In my community, people charge 2,000 for express entry. People just don't want to pay. And it was scary. She would tell me like, okay, like this guy, I'm sending a quote, and what quote should I send? And we would like talk through that. And then she would send the quote for like 3,500, and the person comes back is like, whoa, my budget is $2,000. Like, that's way too much. And then she would say, Olena, like, I should give him this. Okay, let's offer him 25. I'm like, no. Wait a second. This is not how we have a leadership in business. We're not playing small here, because playing small here is like, yeah, caving in to some guy telling you to discount your prices by 40%. And then it was scary. She needed money. She needed like legit money. And that's the only leads she has. That's the only quote she has. It was scary. But she stood the ground, and we stood the ground together, and the guy said yes. And then we did exact same process another 10 times. And every single time she would receive yes. And sometimes maybe no, but that didn't matter, because when you are receiving a positive confirmation, because that people are agreeing for your 35, 45, $5,000 express entry quotations, when you're getting that positive confirmation, then you're naturally gaining that uh, inner confidence of like, oh, that is how it works now. So I'm just quoting everybody that then. So that was a practical thing that we did that got through the barrier of quotations and pricing and all that kind of stuff. Another thing, what we did, as I mentioned, she doubled her consultation fees. And that was not because I told her so. That was interesting. That was actually because of the room and the environment that she was in inside our mentorship program for women RCICs called Business Container. So naturally, when you're around ambitious and just high achieving and a woman with a killer instinct, when you're around that environment, when you're around that group, you're naturally having no choice but go big or go home. And when she was seeing that, like, oh, wait a second, nobody's charging $100 here. Wait a second, like people are raising prices and things come up about that. We didn't even have a conversation about it. She just went ahead and raised her consultation pricing. And now she has 15 consultations per month, coming from 2 to 3 consultations when she had $100 per consultation, which was twice less, right? So that was a testament to honestly just environment that you're in. So a little bit of a sidetrack is that there is actually a study that was performed on various families and various children raising in different families and in different neighborhoods. And basically the outcome of the study was saying is that if the child was raised in a family with above average income, however, the neighborhood was so, not the best neighborhood in the city, or versus to that, in contrast, the child was raised in a family with below the average income, but the family lives in a very nice and very much upscale, fancy neighborhood, then between these two scenarios, the child that was raised in an upscale, fancy neighborhood is statistically going to have higher income potential and is going to have higher income. And it was like a 50-year-old, study when they had to run the study through so many years. So what that means is that your environment dictates more than you can ever think about. Your environment dictates everything, to be honest. And I think that's what played a huge role in this specific RCIC's case, because as I said, honestly, like in the environment of our mentorship program, you kind of don't have a choice. You either go big or you go home, and like that's the way things work. And people go big. So yeah, that's something that really affected her consultation pricing. And what else? Let's see. Okay, so we established a very clear process on how she communicates with, I hate the word leads. Honestly, God, I just hate the word leads, but with leads, I should say prospects or prospective clients. So very clear guidelines. So she doesn't get sucked in that loop of free, pointless conversations that, just don't lead to anything for you or for the client. So very kind of not strict, but just structured communication on how you talk to prospective clients, through which means, through which communication platforms, what is the processes, what are the procedures, how do you approach when they ask you questions, when they ask you follow-up questions after consultations but they didn't sign a retainer yet, like all of these situations. So I think that was super helpful and definitely got her like out of that loop of constantly, feeling like I'm just providing so much information, so much advice to these people, but nobody wants to hire. Because by the end of the day, it like really impacts your mindset, right? It really impacts because you feel like you do so much valuable stuff, but nobody wants to hire you. So that leads you to just doubt your own ability. So yeah, we did that. What else did we do? Let me see my notes. Yeah, well, those ones pretty much kind of things that we fixed, and those ones, basically the biggest parts that we fix when I work with really any RCIC or almost any RCIC. So reviewing pricing, identifying the strategy when it comes to pricing, fixing out the consultation process, fixing up communication process. that communication process on the front end of things, right? Like not with actual clients, but with prospects, more to speak, so to speak. So all the communication that comes right before retainer agreement is signed. So fixing up those three things probably have the biggest impact. And of course, I'm not even talking about this in this episode, but really it's just, yeah, like obviously marketing. Like she really, really locked in. Like that's probably the biggest thing. So number one thing, of course, picking just only one platform, not being scattered, because when she came to me, she had two platforms, I believe, and we just committed to one again, like locked into one platform. No matter rain or shine, no matter how she feels, if she's spiraling today or not, or if she is pushing today, if she's happy or sad, doesn't matter what it is, locking in when it comes to marketing and making sure that you get that traction, you get that momentum, you get that proof of concept that marketing actually works. That was a big one. And then sustaining that system the way that it doesn't take much time, the way that it feels easy, and the way that it becomes a habit and becomes a routine. I mean, that takes time to build that, but she succeeded, and all of that took 8 months. Now she's in a completely different level, and now we're going, and that happens a lot within like my business container, is that first kind of 6 months participation in a container, we accomplish this part of things that I just explained, like the front end, like the sales, the demands, the marketing, the momentum. And then the second participation of container, if the person decides to renew, which a lot of them do, we work more on systems, sometimes a lot of times on hiring. So hiring VA or LA or both. System processes, CRMs, capacity, effectiveness, and more like creating those like Starbucks-like processes. So your company really runs on rinse and repeat. And that way your capacity is expanded, and hopefully you can lower number of hours that you're working, lower your overwhelm, lower your stress level, and all of that kind of stuff. That's kind of like our next journey. So watch out for the next episode in 6 months from now, and I will be telling you that how she nailed that part. But yeah, I just want you to kind of take this case study as something that would tell you that it is possible. And it's not because of the program that I'm running. It's not because of the mentorship that I'm running. It's really because of this person. She decided to truly step into her next level. She decided to stop playing small. She decided that it is the time. It is the time to truly change my life, my business, my reality 180% degrees. And because she decided that, that's why all of these things happen. Me and the environment in terms of mentorship that I've created was just there to kind of support and facilitate process, but really it's 100% her credit, and like she just deserves every little bit of admiration there. Admiration, is that a word? I truly admire what happened. And yeah, I just want you to take this episode as something that absolutely can happen to every single one of you, because you have the same access to the same tools, to the same resources, to the same beliefs to accomplish the same things and further, right? Because that's just a start. I just want to be clear here. That is just a step one. Like, we have big plans with her. We have a lot of things to accomplish, and I'm sure you absolutely can do the same. So 3 things I want you to think about today as a result of, listening to this episode. Number 1, I want you to audit your prices this week. Are you charging based on what your services are worth and, in the market, and what you should be charging? Because I'm sure you know what you should be charging. Or you're charging out of fear of whether people accept it or not. So that's one thing. Number 2 is stopping the cycle of free advice, picking up the phone on every number that calls you and getting into free conversations, unless it is a strategic marketing structure and a strategic marketing decision. So stopping the loop of just giving value, but not actually seeing the results. And then the third thing, I want you to think about your environment. Where are you in right now? And whether you have the support, the motivation, the peer group that you need in order to facilitate your growth. I know RCICs who have that support just, between their LinkedIn friends and like their 3, 4 RCICs that are literally like form their group, their support together. And that facilitates that growth. And I want you to think, if you have the room, did you find the room? Did you find your neighborhood that's going to truly facilitate your growth? And yeah, those 3 action items, that's what I want you to work on. And if you have any questions or anything that truly stood out to you or just really, really hit home, please do DM me on LinkedIn or on Instagram. Now I revived my Instagram now. So on Instagram, LinkedIn or Instagram, you can always DM me. I would be so, so, so happy to hear from you and just honestly chat. Like I love chatting with RCICs, and I love showing them what is truly possible for them, because I really believe that you are destined for so much more than you have right now. All right. Thank you so much. And I'm looking forward to hearing from you.